Greetings, pet lovers. Bridget here with First Street Pets, and today we're going to talk about what to do when you find a lost dog. I've created a lot of content on what to do when you lose your dog, but I also hear from a lot of people wanting to know what to do when they find a dog. The systems of animal control and shelters vary from city to city. It can be very confusing if you suddenly find yourself with a stray dog and you have no idea what to do with it, but you want to keep it safe from running in traffic, and you hopefully want to find the owner. So here are some important things for you to do when you find a lost dog. Number 1, check for visible ID. Hopefully the dog you find is wearing a collar. The traditional kind of ID tag is a little circle with a phone number on it, possibly the pet's name and the owner's name. That's usually the easiest way. There may also be a license tag or a rabies tag, which means you will need to call the number on the tag for a veterinarian or for the local animal control agency. Some collars have the tag sort of embedded into the collar, or if you're going really old school, it may just be written on the collar with a pen. So be sure to check all around the collar. If you don't obviously see a tag, it may even be written on the underside of the collar. Also, some dogs have a QR code collar. I just did a video on that. So if they do, you can go ahead and use your phone to read the QR code, and that should give you all the owner's information so you can contact them. Number 2, check for a microchip. Now, you won't be able to do this visibly because the microchip is only about the size of a grain of rice. But if there is no tag or no collar and nobody says, hey, that's my dog, you're going to need to do something. Now, animal shelters can scan for a microchip, but there may not be one very close to you where you are at the time. Most veterinarians will have microchip scanners. You can call and see if they will scan for you. Typically, veterinarians don't want to take responsibility for stray dogs. They don't want to get involved unless they have a contract with the local shelter. So they may or may not be able to do this for you, but it's worth a call. If you know your local animal rescue or lost animal recovery groups, you can check and see if they have a microchip scanner like I do. Now they can be purchased inexpensively on Amazon. I will put a link in the description. You can find some good ones for under $100. Those folks may be able to even come to you and scan the dog for a chip to see if there is an owner. Now here's where it gets complicated. You have to be able to find out where that chip is registered. Rather than explaining the whole process here, I will link my other video in the description. Number 3, go door to door. This is a very effective way of finding the owner of a lost dog. This is what proactive animal control officers will do because very often dogs are quite close to home when they are found. So if you have a leash or some way of walking the dog with you, you can go from house to house if you feel safe doing so, or talk to people that you see outside walking or watering their lawn or whatever. Ask them if they have seen this dog before. Generally, if the dog lives in the neighborhood, people will know. Maybe they've seen it before or they know who the owner is. Doing this before you take the dog to a shelter can be super helpful because shelters can be quite far away, sometimes 20 or 25 miles. So if you can find the owner right there in the neighborhood at that time, that is going to be the best outcome. Number 4, post on local social media. Notice the emphasis on local. If you post on some Facebook group that's for like the whole county, the whole state, or the whole world, it's not really going to be helpful. I find that Nextdoor is a super tool for reuniting lost pets with their families because it's hyper local. In the small town I live in, there's like 10 or 15 different neighborhood groups. So that can be super helpful if you post a picture, ask if anyone has lost the pet, and definitely include your phone number because you may not get push notifications from Nextdoor, so you'll want someone to call you immediately if that is their dog or they know who the dog belongs to. Also, you may have some local Facebook groups. I do for my community, and so that may be a helpful place to post. You may have a lot of people checking that and who may recognize the dog, or it may be their dog. I also see that on my local Facebook group. So these local social media outlets can be a way to quickly get in touch with the owner or someone who knows the owner. Number 5, post found dog signs. Now, if you're in a hurry, like you're on your way to work, you may not have time for this step. But if you're not bringing the dog to the shelter right away and you want to take some more steps to find the owner, this can be super helpful. You've already posted online, but not everybody sees posts on the internet or uses social media. I will link my article in the description on places to design and print lost and found dog flyers quickly and for free. So this can be a really good resource. You'll want to put them up in intersections and shopping malls and places around your area, obviously right where you found the dog and maybe a little bit outward from there. Be sure to have a nice clear phone number and a good picture of the dog. This can be very helpful in finding owners, or again with just good Samaritans or neighbors who see the picture and will try to contact the owner or will keep an eye out themselves and call you. Number 6, call animal control. So shelters vary in their quality of care from city to city, so I cannot recommend whether this is the best course of action to take in bringing the dog to a shelter. However, you may not have the ability to take this dog to your home. It may be a large dog and you don't have room for it. You may already have other pets or cats and you don't want to bring a strange animal into your home. Totally understandable. So if you don't know who to call because you've never dealt with animal control before, try calling whoever your local authorities are, whether it's the police department, the sheriff, whatever. Call them and say, who do I call when I find a dog? And they will be able to tell you. Sometimes the police department does animal control. Sometimes they're dedicated animal control officers. You won't know unless you've had to deal with this before. So that is a good place to start. In most cases, an animal control officer can come out with the truck and pick up the dog for you. If they're busy, they may ask you if you have time to take it to the shelter, depending on how far away it is. Some shelters also give you the option of fostering the dog if you are able to hang on to it for a period of time, but you want to be able to make a report to animal control so that they can tell anybody coming in looking for their dog that the dog has been found but is currently in a foster home. And number 7 is to continue fostering at home or to bring the dog to a shelter. So after you've made a report with animal control, you do need to figure out ultimately what to do with the dog. So if you can't keep it, you just want to do what's best, you're going to go ahead and take it to a shelter or let the animal control officer come pick it up. If you do foster the dog at home, you kind of want to have a plan because as the days go by, if you don't find an owner, can you keep the dog? Do you intend to try to rehome it yourself or work through a rescue group? Sometimes people find themselves suddenly stuck with a dog that they didn't really plan on keeping after a few weeks, and then they don't know what to do with it. So very important to stay in touch with your local animal shelter and animal rescue groups because the laws vary. For example, sometimes if you have kept an animal for more than a certain amount of days, maybe even just 7 days, the shelter will consider it to belong to you. So if you then want to take it to a shelter weeks later, you may actually have to pay a surrender fee. So just communicate with all the groups involved, kind of have a plan for what you ultimately intend to do with the dog and enact that plan. Thank you for caring about lost dogs. People like you really make a difference in keeping dogs out of shelters and having to be put down or adopted by other people. Your proactive steps help people find their lost dogs. Thank you for watching. I will put a link in the description if that's something you're interested in purchasing.